Hey gang, Sean Geek here,
And Fast Fret.
and we have two storefronts. If you are a TeePublic fan, you can browse our inventory over at TeePublic, which is teepublic.com/Sean Geek Podcast.
Or redbubble.com/people/Sean Geek Podcast.
You can get anything from either storefront, from t-shirts, stickers, phone cases, accessories of all kinds. We're talking masks, notebooks, mugs, pillows, totes, tapestries.
Oh my.
Oh my. Everything's there. Just go to those addresses. Also check the show notes and help support the show. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Welcome to the Sean and Geek, the Sean Geek and Fast Fret podcast. Done.
Well done. Okay, we're going to use that. I'll do, well, I don't need to introduce the show, but I'll introduce this guy.
Yeah.
Who is here? Who is with us? Who's joined us tonight? Is he going to tell us? He's going to keep us waiting.
Oh, just some asshole.
So this is Mark Camire.
Yeah.
From, we'll say from Rose of Sharyn.
Yeah. From the band Rose of Sharyn, a tribute to Killswitch Engage.
I used to sing that song, dude, in my last band. Yeah.
It's very, very fun.
Yeah, it's very, very fun. You're also on a podcast called The Podcast Will Rock.
And the podcast will rock. We are we're not the official, because I don't think legally we're allowed to say that. We're not the official Van Halen podcast, but we are one that seems to be pretty, high in the ether somewhere, that people seem to, if they're a fan of Van Halen and they want to look for a podcast, we tend to pop up.
Yeah. And the Van Halen news desk tends to pimp you guys quite a bit, so that's good.
They do, and we love those guys. We love Eric Sinich over there. Good people, always have something nice to say about our show, and we use their website for a lot of our references, so
Right.
we are very grateful to them.
And they're the not official Van Halen news site, but they're more or less official because, I mean, they have ties to
Yeah.
the Van Halen camp. So if they're endorsing you guys, then you guys are the official Van Halen podcast, in my opinion.
I mean, I look at it as if they're saying, if they enjoy it, like if Eric Sinich enjoys it and Greg Renoff enjoys it and endorses us, then I say then that's all the validation we need.
Damn straight. Hate the haters.
Exactly.
So been wanting to have you on the show for a while. I wanted you and Karen to say hi to each other. You're both
Hello.
incredibly
Hello.
nerdy.
Yeah, I heard. I heard that's when are we trying to include him? Like, I guess like every time we're talking about something nerdy,
Every time
you
there's
always
guys.
bring up him. You always
Yeah.
bring up Mark.
Yeah, usually there's like a Marvel movie. And it's like I see Mark tweeting online, and I'm like,
Yeah, I've since like held back so many or so much of my tweeting time, which is probably a good thing, honestly. If you go back and look at some of my past tweets, like, oh, bro, just go to sleep. But for the most part, I've stayed consistent because it's usually just me ranting about nerdy things, and that's what I use Twitter for. I use Twitter to celebrate the nerdy things that I love and to shout out the podcast. But then also, I love to just go on and say these people who said this bad thing about the nerdy things are wrong, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah, that's what got me on board. I'm like, we got to get Mark on for this. Like, you love
I'm very opinionated.
No, but it's good. You're not a negative opinionated person. You're just I love my shit.
Yeah, I try not to be. There have been times, like I said in the past, where I was just like so negative. But then I don't know. One day you just grow up, or you just have like different perspectives, and you start looking at things a different way. And that's not to say that I'm like, oh, I'm perfectly positive all the time. No, absolutely not. But I try to be a little bit better because there's enough negativity out there without my help.
But every opinion is a valid opinion. Like, it provides a different
Sure,
perspective to other people. So perfectly fine.
Yeah.
We just don't want to shit on people.
Yeah.
People enjoy their stuff.
Yeah.
Karen
exactly.
and I have had some pretty strong opinions about some recent Marvel stuff, but at the end of the day, we're doing Marvel content. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
The way I look at it, and I've tried to explain this to other people, and I don't think they're hearing it, or they just don't want to. The things that we are getting, well, Marvel specifically, I'll just point that out. The MCU is literally giving us things that when I was a kid, I just imagined in my brain thinking, and I always like to think, because I'm just such a movie fan, I always think of things cinematically. I always think, what would be really cool in a movie? This, or I really like this comic book. Wonder what that would look like in a movie. And the MCU has literally brought so much of that to life. And but I mean, yeah, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but that is what I love so much about what they're doing in Marvel, and that's why I try to stay pretty positive on everything, because I'm looking at it going, well, this story might not have been as strong as this last story over here, but don't pay attention to that last story. Look at this one, and let's celebrate all the good things about it.
I mean, the bad part would be we don't get anything at all, which was the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s.
That was the norm. That's what I'm saying. It's like, and that's honestly, that's what I get so angry about. My constant phrase on Twitter, if I'm talking about any of the nerd stuff, is y'all didn't deserve the MCU in the first place, because it's just because we got greedy. Everybody got greedy because we got all this really great content for a consistent number of years, I think. Like maybe one or two misses in my opinion, but great content, and it just kept getting bigger and better and more successful. And so why wouldn't they want to just keep expanding it? Why wouldn't they want to keep giving us more stories with new characters, or same characters with new sort of ideas and adventures? And it's just like, why can't there was a time where we had none of this. We were just imagining the possibilities, and every time they would attempt to give us a movie adaptation, in the early days, they were so bad. They were so bad.
But we saw every single one of those movies.
Oh, we did.
Shows, and we loved it despite how shitty they were back then.
Because we had to. We had no choice.
That's all you got.
It's like this is what we have. We have to celebrate it, even if it kind of hurts us a little.
If we don't put our dollars behind it, they won't make another one. So we better go see it, shitty or good. We got to go see it.
But you know what? Sometimes we get so critical nowadays, right? Because like you said, there's so much access to everything, and people have their own standards now. And I have a coworker that would watch a movie and like, okay, we have to all rate it, like from 1 to 10. Like, why do we have to rate all of them? Can I not just enjoy it? Which is like, actually, my dad is still a true like movie person. He only has 2 reviews in the movies: either I like it or I didn't like it. And for the most part, he's just like, I like it, and I don't care if the animation is shitty or the story didn't make sense. Like, I enjoyed it. End of story. It's a good movie, so it will qualify as a good movie. Which I'm like, sometimes when I watch a movie, I'm like, I guess if you enjoy it, like, then it's a good movie. There's no reason to like tear it apart, right? Or nitpick and whatever. So sometimes it's like very refreshing to just like have that simple like point of view and just like perspective in watching movies.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah. Yep. I wish more people would go back to that mentality, because I feel like that's lost now. Social media has been a great thing over the last few years. It's also been
the internet is great. It's the same thing.
The internet's great until people start to ruin it, and now everybody's a critic. Everybody has a voice, and it's like, it's cool for everyone to have a voice, but also, I don't know, sometimes the most negative ones are the loudest, and please just don't. Instead of tweeting, just don't. How about that? Just don't. Just say you didn't like something. Just say it wasn't for me. Just say that. It's fine. Yeah. That's what I said about Black Adam over in DC. I was
because why don't you write your own movie? Let me see you write the movie and do that, right?
This is my Doctor Strange.
That's awesome.
Have you ever seen that one, Mark?
I have seen the first 10 minutes, and I said, I'm good.
You got to be tripping balls when you watch it. Though. Then you really
apparently so. That is the consensus that I heard throughout the years about that particular Doctor Strange adaptation. Like, oh, you weren't watching it in the right frame of mind. If you get my drift,
I'm going to tell you a story about that movie, because we had this great video store in Bohunk, New Brunswick. That's not really where I'm from. It's right next to Bohunk.
Those are words that I believe exist.
Bohunk population.
But it was this place called Midnight Video, and the guy that ran that place would get like the coolest shit in like trauma movies and stuff, and I mean, we were a town at the time. Our town was, I think we were like population 4,000 or 5,000, so it was very, very, very tiny, right? So, but this guy brought in the best videos, and people would drive from like the city to our town to go to Midnight Video. It was awesome. But I go in there one day and I see Doctor Strange on the shelf, and I'm like,
this modern hospital may seem worlds apart from the days of ancient sorcerers, but for psychiatrist Stephen Strange and his beautiful patient, this is where those worlds collide, and the nightmare begins.
We're here interviewing the founder of the LaFay method, a woman who in the last few days seems to have taken at least a part of New York City by storm, so to speak. Here to tell us more about it is the force behind the LaFay method, Morgan LaFay. Miss LaFay, can you tell us just what it is exactly that the method does?
Quite simply, it unlocks the hidden potential within you. It's a way of realizing your own powers and using them to get what you really want out of life.
and pushed him over a railing in front of a car.
Nothing Stephen Strange learned in medical school could prepare him for an attack by an evil sorceress from the fourth dimension. A villainess who can only be stopped by an earthly master of the mystic arts.
Come in. Thank you. You're telling me you're a sorcerer? I came here to try to help a patient of mine.
Come and take him into our domain.
Now it's up to Stephen Strange to take the place of the Earth's last sorcerer.
Have I become the sorcerer?
You should learn whose powers to respect.
Come along for a fantastic adventure into the fourth dimension with Doctor Strange.
I didn't even, we don't have internet back then. I'm a kid.
Yeah, no.
How am I going to know about these movies coming out? Like, I couldn't buy Fangoria magazine or any of those magazines.
Especially that one, which was like obscure as shit, man. Like they were trying to bury that one.
But let me tell you, my buddy Richard and I, we saw that movie. We're like, are you fucking kidding me? We rented the movie. We watched it all the way through. His parents came in. What are you watching? They saw the guy with the mustache, looked very similar to another guy with a mustache in another type of film. Very
I knew where this
similar.
was
And
going.
somehow his dad was familiar with the other actor, and he's like, what are you guys watching? Does your mother know you guys are watching this? Because the music, wow, there was a lot of like,
yeah.
you know.
Oh, it's very, very stylized, let's say, for the time period. For those of you not in the know, you can go to YouTube and look up the 70s Doctor Strange and have yourself a time.
But I forced myself
I've only
to like
made the
that
first
film.
10 minutes.
Yeah, I forced myself to like that film because what else am I going to watch?
I mean, I had a similar, it's so funny you say that. I had a similar experience. I grew up in this town. Actually, I relive in it now. Right outside of Nashville is called Mount Juliet. And there was a video store there. This was a particular video store that you went when you wanted to see or find a movie that you knew for whatever reason, Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, like the big chains didn't have. You knew that they didn't have because the obscure ones. If I wanted to watch a Godzilla film, I had to go to this store. And I grew up on those old Toho Godzilla movies. But this store also introduced me to the McFarlane toy line. You know, the Todd McFarlane's toy line. You know, the Kiss dolls, very famously. Kiss.
You had the dolls there.
The dolls were there. Like I didn't realize that was a thing. And you know, my dad was a Kiss fan. He's like, oh my God, we should get those. So he never did. But because it's McFarlane, that's where I got one of my first looks at what Spawn looked like outside of a comic book. So like that's awesome. But also, Dad, I don't know what he did, but he must have talked to a guy who was able to score him one of the infamous bootleg copies of the 90s Fantastic Four.
From the pages of the world's greatest comic book adventure, 4 heroes on a daring mission in space, but something went wrong. Genetically transformed, they become the most powerful superheroes of all time. But the forces of evil are out to destroy their cosmic power. Find them! And to survive, they must utilize all their strength. To put an end to their arch nemesis.
Doom, it's clobber time.
The Fantastic Four.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And see, Dad didn't read a ton of comic books, but he did read quite a bit of Marvel. And his 2 books that he read a lot were Iron Man and Fantastic Four.
Nice.
And so like those were the dudes. So he was so excited that he got his hands on a copy of this because he said, I don't even remember what I think he only just kind of knew there was like an urban legend behind it, like the forbidden film where like you can never find this film anywhere, but it exists. And Dad's got a copy. So of course we made a copy the second we got home.
When was this? Like,
well, that movie came out. Well, it didn't come out at all, but it was filmed in like 94, 93, something like that. So it literally was not much longer after that.
Really? He got a copy back then.
Yeah. Like I said, to this day, do not know how. Don't know how he did it. And then, like I say, of course, we took it home and he made a copy immediately before we even watched it because he's like, in case something happens, like we want a copy. I think the dude even at the store even gave him permission. He's like, yeah, go ahead, just make a copy. It's fine. And I tell you, kids, we watched it, and I had to really force myself to enjoy it because at that time I didn't have a lot of Fantastic Four exposure. You know, I hadn't been reading those comics yet, and I think they didn't even have one of their animated. No, well, they had the '60s animated series, but I hadn't seen that yet. So I was like, okay, so that's what this is about. All right, Dr. Doom's kind of cool, but I could barely understand what he's saying in that mask, but whatever.
What? Honestly, Jonathan. Take my advice. Keep your cool.
Like the precursor to Bane from Dark Knight Rises. But like at least Dr. Doom sounded menacing, whereas Tom Hardy, I love you as an actor, but I don't know what that Bane voice is all about to this day.
I studied the Fantastic Four 1994 film because I really wanted to get into character.
Dr. Doom is my reference. Yeah. Like, yeah, clearly. But yeah, so my story is a little similar to that, except for I didn't get caught watching it. I was encouraged to watch it.
Have you seen
it? I did, and that's what we had.
No, I've not seen the Fantastic Four movie.
So
I've seen a Doctor Strange run.
It's on YouTube. I think it's on YouTube. You can
it's on YouTube, and there's also there's a documentary on.
Yes, thank you.
On Tubi, I think it's on for free.
It was on Hulu for a while, but yeah, I think it's on Tubi now. But Doomed, it's called
Doomed
because the movie was doomed from the start, and that story is fascinating, and all the actors, like everybody who worked on it's all there.
Karen, that's your homework.
No, homework.
Doomed on Tubi. Gotta watch it. The documentary is fantastic because those poor actors, production people, like they wanted to make that freaking film, and they were
so excited. Yeah. And unfortunately, if you're we all in our own way love Stan Lee and his legacy, but that doc, unfortunately, really does not do Stan any favors for where his mindset was at that time. He comes across really bad. So
yeah, he does.
That's what I'll say.
He was, he can be a good dude, but he can also be, I don't know. He was the editor in chief. He's
a businessman. And a very popular business at that.
Yeah.
So things happen. Sometimes people make decisions that are not good for everyone's business, just for your own business. And whatever. Time heals all wounds, I'm told.
Right. Jack Kirby's estate finally got paid. So.
Golly. Oof.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing. We don't have time to get into that.
No. I just bought a trade, a Jack Kirby trade that I haven't read it yet. I'm saving it for like a weekend read because I'm going to be reading it from front to back in one go. Like there's no doubt.
Oh yeah.
But it's his Eternals run. Complete.
Oh, okay. The complete run.
Yeah. Yeah, one trade with complete run. I have the one that Neil Gaiman did, which was actually quite good.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I do like the Eternals movie. Karen,
I do too.
Does not.
It's fine.
Not a fan. Yeah, but it's okay.
But I grew up on I grew up on Kirby. Like I'm a little older than you both, but I grew up on Kirby. Kirby was a legend. It was Kirby. I was like kind of the tail end of Kirby in the beginning of John Byrne, who took Fantastic Four for forever and did a lot of Spider-Man stuff. So like I was trying to go. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. His run on Superman is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
That's something else I got to go pick up. But anyway. See,
this is how this podcast goes. Like we always get derailed.
We're
gonna nerd out here. It's like, okay, great.
No, that's good. We got to nerd out.
And sometimes we have to cap ourselves because otherwise, you go on like one tangent and then it's just like next thing you know, there's like so many branches in this conversation.
I mean, my current podcasting partner Corey can tell you in our previous exactly.
Yeah.
Corey can tell you because I used to have a podcast called Rantings of a Maniac. I was the maniac, and it was literally just episodes of me ranting about dumb nerd shit most of the time, or metal music, but one or two of those things.
Like metal music is really nerd music, and I think that's why I like it so much. It's totally nerd.
It was started. That's what's so hilarious about it is like there was a time where guys doing metal were. They had to be the tough guys. We're tough. Like we don't do that nerd shit. It's like, bro, this genre was created by nerds. I don't want to hear it. Get out of here.
Like before the show, they're like, "Hey, I've got the Fantastic Four, or I'm reading Sandman. You reading Sandman? Yeah. Let's go."
Freaking like so much of Led Zeppelin is inspired by the Lord of the Rings. So like give me a fucking break. Like Rush is just all nerd shit. Just accept it. It's fine.
What?
Exactly. Get into that nerd shit.
Yeah. So there was a Marvel movie that was, well, no, do we want to talk about what's been going on the last couple of weekends? Box office talk, a little bit of DC's kind of get a big overhaul. Karen and I have talked about it a bit, but kind of wanted to get your 2 cents on it too. The big overhaul from James Gunn and then the Shazam movie where they drop a little nugget in the
the cameo appearance.
Oh, well, there's the cameo appearance. Do we want to spoil stuff? Karen, are you okay if we spoil stuff?
Yeah.
No, don't spoil. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either, but I've heard.
Okay.
I know about the cameo.
the cameo is the one thing that got like spoiled in the marketing, like right before the movie actually dropped. And I go, why would you guys do? I mean, I get it. There's the mentality of because it doesn't matter. But also that you're sinking your own ship. Like, why would you do that? Like, don't do that. Come on. But no, like we don't have to get into spoiler territory. I just think that the particular cameo that we're thinking about is I don't know what to make of that, except for it sounds to me like the marketing department just decided who cares. So because it's the end of it. I haven't heard. I don't know what the box office numbers look like on this new Shazam. I had heard from a few sources, like review sources that I actually kind of trust most of the time, that the movie's not terrible. It just feels like it's lacking a few things, and then unfortunately they have to go into this movie with the mentality of this is probably not going to continue. It probably doesn't matter. And I mean that's where everybody was with Black Adam, ironically, which is connected to Shazam. And that's hilarious. Did you hear the story that Dwayne Johnson refused to make a cameo appearance in Shazam Fury of the Gods because, and I believe the quote is, and I'm paraphrasing, but check that quote, I am in the big leagues. I'm not dealing with amateurs. Like,
okay,
bro, you don't know what character you are, do you? Like, you don't know. Like, oh my God, it took you
did
10
not
plus
research
years.
yourself.
No, it took you 10 plus years to make this Black Adam movie. Which, okay, we're doing that, and then B, like, you don't even know who the character is you're playing. Like, you don't. Oh man, and I like Dwayne Johnson, but holy God, this whole I don't even know, man. He is. Whatever face he likes to try and save during press tours and junkets and things, he just decided, nah, I'm just gonna say what I want.
I will say though, like when all this before Black Adam came out, there was this whole thing with him, like my buddy Henry Cavill, he's kind of getting shafted by WB. I want to look out for him. You know, we've been buddies for, when we were both nobodies and blah blah blah. Yeah. And looking out like that at face value looks phenomenal. It looks great. It's like, hey, he's trying to help his buddy out. We all love Henry Cavill. We all have a crush on him.
Yeah.
We think he's awesome. He's a big nerd. He's actually one of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he has the producer capability, the ability to raise funds and raise interest in projects and get projects made. But he's one of us. So we all love this guy. So when The Rock is trying to use his muscle to help him, we're all like, yeah, let's do it. And then when Black Adam came out, and then all the stories about how he was trying to, I don't know, bully, but kind of push his way through, like, this is the Black Adam universe or like kind of all that stuff. It's like he went from like the most likable person to
the most arrogant.
Yeah.
To just another Hollywood douchebag.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's because he just really didn't understand the character. I think someone told him years ago who Black Adam was and gave like kind of a highlight reel. And Dwayne probably said, that sounds cool. I want to do that. Like, I'll play an anti-hero. I never get to do that. I'll play the anti-hero. And then just never could get the movie made because nobody wants to see a Black Adam movie because a Black Adam movie that exists, but no Shazam, or Captain Marvel, whatever you want to call him. Originally it was called Captain Marvel. Like, without Shazam, it doesn't work. It just does not work. I mean, and they try, I mean, to their credit, I guess they tried because they said, well, we have to at least pull in some other, DC mainstays to give this thing some life. So
which was
they'll fight. Yeah. It's like, they'll fight the Justice Society, but only like 3 of them. And it's like, you gave us 3 cool ones, or 3 or 4 cool ones, but you didn't write them very well because God forbid someone tries to steal the spotlight from
Didn't Deadpool 1 have some X-Men in it, but he couldn't, like, they were joking about how they couldn't have the budget to get more X-Men in it, like, but the way they played it was actually worked.
Yeah, it works because it's funny, and they joked about it. Whereas this, first of all, the Justice Society just shows up out of nowhere. Like we've never in the previous DC movies, which were kind of connected at the time, not once was the Justice Society mentioned. But yet Amanda Waller is there. She knows about them. She's like, okay. Just the inconsistencies throughout Black Adam, plus the fact that one of the most charismatic entertainers in the world, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is the most uncharismatic he has ever been on screen in this movie was just baffling. On top of the fact that nobody cared because nobody was interested in the movie, and then also it didn't matter. It didn't, because we had already heard the news that this is probably not going to go any further, even if you all love it.
Yeah, he hyped it up so much too. Hey, like he's like, I spent all this time making this, perfect movie, and you see it. It was like, like nothing new.
Yeah,
it's like
you didn't break
maybe there was a perfect movie in there somewhere, but we certainly didn't see it when it was released. Because if you love Black Adam out there, kudos to you, but it just was not for me.
Yeah, there's one podcast that Karen and I listened to, and they just raved. They were like, "This is like better than anything Marvel's put out in years." When they saw it, and I'm like,
if
really?
you say so.
You know what?
You're the audience for it.
Yeah. Like they made it for you. So I love that people love the Venom movies, and I do not. I want to love the Venom movies, but I just don't.
Yeah, I went on an assignment for Venom 2. I'm still a little sore about that one.
Ugh. That one, honestly, that one hurts me more just because I loved the team behind Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah,
I loved the casting of Cletus Cassidy. I thought that was brilliant, but the end result just did not do anything for me like I was hoping it would do. It just didn't. And then, do I even want to mention Morbius? Because
I was gonna ask if you've seen it.
I haven't yet. Still.
My girlfriend and I only recently watched it because it's on Netflix currently at the time of this recording. And I said, I don't mind telling you. I said to her, I was like, this would probably be better if we take an edible and watch this thing, because I have heard so many. Actually, I know more about the memes and the jokes than I do about the film itself. So, but it didn't look very, very good. So let's watch it. And I'm here to tell you, one, I recommend taking an edible before watching it because at least you'll laugh. But I don't know what that was. It looked like it could have been a movie, but I don't think that's what it was, because there was no story. There was no plot. There was just scenes that kind of
hinted at a story, hinted that we kind of want to do stuff.
They kind of want to, if you put the scenes in a particular order, good editing, by the way, then you kind of get something of a story, but then by the end, it really falls apart, and you're just
maybe the Blu-ray version has a re-edit the movie yourself. Put the scenes in the order.
That would be fun.
Pick your own
Phantom
adventure.
Edit by Morbius.
Pick your own
the
adventure.
Morbin time
maybe
edit.
Options.
Actually, I would be so into that. Give me a Morbius pick your own.
Would you
adventure.
like him to dance or not to dance? I don't know.
Well, I didn't see him dance before. Let's see what he looks like dancing. Go ahead, go ahead, Lito, dance.
So maybe half the money they made at box office, everybody thought it was Mobius from the Loki show. Like, oh my God, it's a Mobius movie! Woo! What the hell is going on here?
That would be hilarious. I want to talk to those people that made that mistake. Please, like, whoever you are, reach out to me at Mark the Bat on Twitter. I want to talk.
I still think that it would have maybe done a little bit better if it was like, done like 20 years ago. If it was the first movie, like I feel like maybe it'll cost like a little bit of
2020s.
Yeah. Because I was like, I don't know.
But even so, I think I think you're right. But even so, Morbius's biggest problem is that, well, there are lots of problems, but we'll just anyway. There was no real Spider-Man connection in the movie. That's not a spoiler. That's
what about that like post-credit scene where they tried to forcibly shoehorn the Spider-Man connection?
I mean, well, you said it. They tried to forcibly shoehorn a Spider-Man connection, but at no point in this movie, maybe slight spoilers, at no point in this movie whatsoever, maybe it's on the cutting room floor, a scene or two, but at no point in this movie is there a mention of Spider-Man until who shows up at the end, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever when it does happen. And you can't have, it's my problem with the Venom movies too, amongst other things. You're using these villains that are inherently Spider-Man based. Venom does not exist without Spider-Man at all. Like, just by the story. I mean, I know they did it, but like, did you think that was a better call? Morbius is his whole, like, you could do a movie without him, and they tried, but at the same time, it's like, well, okay, but his whole journey is almost kind of dependent on running into Spider-Man and having like these, just like in the animated show from the 90s. And then that way, if they really wanted to thrill us, go like, oh, by the way, here's a secret cameo from Mahershala Ali as Blade. Oh, what? We brought in Blade. That would have been cool. That might have been cool, but yeah.
I feel like they wanted to make these like bad guys so likable. Like sometimes they make movies. I'm like, oh, let me make a Cruella. I'm like, guys, like they still At the end of the day, this is a woman that wanted to murder puppies. Like, I
Yeah.
don't care what your
She's nice,
background
though.
is.
She's nice. She's really nice.
I don't
Yeah,
care
no,
what
I mean,
happened in the past.
Yeah.
Disney's obsession with doing these solo villain movies and trying to make them likable is beyond me. But
I did
but
like
yeah, no,
Maleficent. Maleficent for me worked, and that was out of all the live action recreations of the animated ones, it's the only one I actually like.
But I always think that, like,
Well,
when they get
God's
to the
bless
when
you
they're
on that one,
villains,
sir.
when they become villains, like, is this
Yeah.
justifiable? Does that movie justify that? Am I supposed to like them because, you know, they wanted to, again, kill puppies? Like, that to me is like just unredeemable.
Yeah, it's like no,
Like,
yeah, that's irredeemable.
We're
You're
all
done.
we're all animal people. Here. I
101
think that's the worst
Dalmatians.
crime.
Something about Hollywood's obsession with they see that sometimes anti-hero movies do really well, and they just assume that every anti-hero movie will do well, and especially if you throw it in like an anti-hero superhero, like people love the Punisher, they'll go see the Punisher. It's like, okay, cool, yeah, but that is because the Punisher story is very specific, okay? Like, and he can have like a big arc because he is usually a solo act, but you can't keep making anti-hero movies from these like side B-level characters. And yeah, I'm sorry, Morbius is a B-level character. They've been trying to film a Kraven the Hunter movie, and as good of a villain as he is for Spider-Man, without Spider-Man, Kraven does not work. His whole story revolves
Hunting
around
the
the fact that
biggest
he's hunting
game, Spider-Man.
Yes. That's what it is. I actually read an article today. That movie will probably not see the light of day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know who's putting the kibosh on it, but it's I don't think it's happening. Hopefully Kevin Feige's like, can y'all just not over there? Just stop. Just stop.
What, like they let Marvel make the Spider-Man movies. Like, why don't they just I know they want to make the money, they want to make all the money, they want to have all the creative control, blah, 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 blah. But they know they need Marvel to have $1 billion Spider-Man, anything. Like, you don't know what to do with the Spider-Man stuff. Marvel's proven that even Spider-Man without any of the villains that they were already over on the Sony side. Like, Marvel knows what they're doing. Like, just I'm not saying give it to them, but you can collect the money and Marvel will make the movie. You can collect your cut and be done. Like, I don't know.
That's what they should have been doing. That's what they should have been focusing on. I think they probably tried that with Morbius, but by the time the Marvel Studios kind of had some input, I think they just decided, to hell with that. We're going to do what we want. We can do it. And like, okay, suit yourself. How'd that work out for you? You know why? It's because Venom, the first Venom movie, was unusually and, in my opinion, bafflingly so successful.
Yeah,
it made a lot of money, and I to this day I don't get it. But that gave Sony all the leverage they needed, or not leverage, but all the
confidence.
The confidence, the motivation. Go like, you see, we can do this. Maybe we will do that Sinister Six movie that we were trying to do years ago.
I'm like,
go for it. It ain't gonna
had
work.
a Sinister Six of a sort anyway. You're just retreading the same. Because it was a villains united against Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3. So then what's the whole point of you guys doing it? Like,
to be clear, you mean No Way Home or Spider-Man 3?
Oh, sorry, No Way Home. Yeah.
Okay, good. I was like, oh, which one are we talking about here? But yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
You know what I was thinking? If Marvel's running out of ideas, I feel like Spider-Man has good enough base, and there's a lot of stories that honestly Spider-Man would do well as a TV show. Really, like, so many episodes, but I think it's also so big now that they're not going to do that because they're going to put Spider-Man in the big screen, right? But I mean, realistically, they're pumping out all these TV shows. I'm like Spider-Man would do so well in a TV show because there's so many well-known villains and so many like storylines, right? Like for Spider-Man, that it would probably be a really, really good like TV show like that. X-Men, like, look, I don't know why they're not thinking of the
Yeah, like for the X-Men animated show, like you get to see a lot of the storylines that you grew up on in the comics.
Because if you don't have enough ideas, right, to make one big movie, like do them by episode, and they would do so well as like 30 45 minute like episodes or whatnot.
You know what, I think X-Men as a TV show, live action TV show, like, would be great.
They tried that multiple times.
Generation X
Generation X, but they ran into too many legal loopholes with that one and also they just had no money, so that just ended up kind of in the crapper. There was a show, kind of a short-lived show, I can't remember what network, but it was called Mutant X.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And that was supposed to be also an X-Men show, and they got just hit with copyright infringement like that, so they had to change the names, and then eventually it was just like, just a complete story change. The only correlation to that show and the X-Men at all was just the use of the word mutant and the letter X.
And I was a huge fan of Mutant X, like the comic
Yeah.
series Mutant X. It was so awesome. The show came out. I'm like, oh my god, they're doing. And this isn't Marvel.
And it was just like,
Come
this is
on.
not no. And then
Who are
after
these?
that, and then a few years ago they did a show called The Gifted, which was about the mutants in the X-Men world. I don't believe they ever used the term X-Men once, even though they did exist. But you saw a lot of side characters, a lot of like C-list, D-list mutants show up.
Were
a
there
little
really
bit.
though? Really?
Yeah, like Polaris, the daughter, the second daughter of Magneto, had a big role in it. Blink
Really?
had a big role in it. Yeah. They kept alluding that Cyclops was in the show, but it actually wasn't Cyclops at all. I think, and I think maybe Havoc was in it, but I could be making that up. But a lot of the mutants only like deep cut fans might know were really involved in it.
I would know them.
Gift. I didn't
saw
watch
that
it.
and I didn't realize. I didn't know if that was
The
that
Gifted.
or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was and I did the first 2 episodes and I went, we're focusing a lot on the human parents and I just don't give a shit about that. I want to see the mutants.
Yeah.
give me the mutant stories. Like, it's cool if we want to spend time with the kids are the one with the powers. Cool.
Mhm.
Give me more of that and then incorporate some other stuff.
Why would they focus on the parents?
Because
Parentex. Parents
because
of
the
X.
father, I can't remember who the mother is at the top of my head, but the father was the guy, I believe is Steven something. He played Bill Compton on True Blood. So he was still riding high from that.
Right.
And people are like, look, we got the True Blood guy in the show. Come watch it. And like, cool. We don't care. We don't. Is he a vampire in this too? No. Is he a mutant? No. We don't care. Get him out of here. But it ran for like, I think 3 seasons, but it just, if ask anybody, I don't know who watched it. The only successful X-Men TV show other than the animated show, shows, because the animated ones are always really good. The live action one has been Legion.
Yeah.
And Legion was just so bizarre and wacky.
I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, and they could only really they couldn't outright tell people that this was like a mutant show.
Right.
You had to watch it to find that out if you didn't already know like who Legion was. But as good as it was, I don't think people were ready for it, and I don't think people.
It was early.
totally
It was ahead of
understood.
its
Yeah.
time. And
was.
and I think I remember the marketing for that was like, oh, it's a show that portrays like schizophrenia or something, right? Like I think that was the
Yeah,
marketing,
yeah.
which was like it's also a Marvel character.
Yeah, it's just like this is Legion. This is Charles Xavier's son. Like, ugh. And they did like reveal that, and it's like, oh, so if you're just watching as a casual fan and you don't know, but you do know who the main X-Men are, and you hear that name, you go, oh, holy shit. And it was good for what it was, but also you could never find a way to bring Legion into like, I don't know what they're planning on doing with the MCU as far as X-Men go and mutants. There's no way you could bring Legion into it without I don't know, you'd have to do a lot of work. You'd have to do a lot of work to make that believable.
No, but that was a very creative show.
Mhm.
I really liked the creative liberties that they took on that show. That and then you go back and watch like Dark Phoenix and like second Dark Phoenix that we ruined, like such a simple story.
Yeah, I'll have to come back on another show to explain why the X-Men franchise at Fox Studios just makes me sad, because it just goes from here to here and then boom, real fast.
But then it has
with the
little moments
exception
where it
of
starts to
Deadpool.
dip up.
Yeah, little moments like Deadpool 2, like, okay, we're doing it, and then Logan like, oh my god, you guys are really doing it, and then Dark Phoenix. No, the less said, the better.
Yeah, I had such high hopes, but I will say that the soundtrack for Dark Phoenix is actually quite good, and I do use it when I'm writing. I use it all the time.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
It's actually fantastic.
You know why? Because it's 90s.
Yeah. All right, I think let's cap it here, guys.
All right, let's
see how long we could talk. Like I'm sure if we just like don't cap it, like we'll just
Dude,
go
yeah, don't give me an excuse. I'll keep going.
No, that was fun. That was good. Where do we find you?
You can find me at what I'm doing. You can find me at Mark the Bat on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me on my show and the podcast Will Rock. We are the Van Halen podcast. We spin a wheel and we discuss one track of Van Halen's catalog, and we just discuss it. We're sort of rediscovering the band after all this time. We're longtime fans. We're not experts. We're not rock historians. So let me be very clear about that, because I feel like I always have to bring it up. Like, we're not experts. We're just fans rediscovering a band through analytical eyes. So you can find me there, and the podcast Will Rock. Me and my podcasting partner Corey Morissette And then also Rose of Sharyn, a tribute to Killswitch Engage. I'm in a band there. We play in the Nashville area for now, but we're looking to expand, and that might be in the works pretty soon. So, and if you're in the Nashville area, any people listening who are in the Nashville area or are close to it, this Saturday, I'm not sure when the this podcast will air.
Perhaps it's Friday.
Okay. Well, if you're in the Nashville area, if you're hearing this and it's not March 25th, come on out March 25th to the East Side Bowl. We're playing a show along with other tribute acts such as Thunderkiss 615, a white zombie tribute, and Vulgar Display of Nashville, the Pantera tribute. And I'm telling you, both these bands, great dudes. We love them and they sound amazing. You're gonna have, if you want a show full of nostalgic metal, you are in for a treat. Yay. So please check that out.
Gotta like the metal.
Yeah.
All right. And you can find us at SeanMcGinnity.ca. I can't say it as sexy as Fast Right does, but I'll try. SCA. You say you can't do it. SEANMCGINITY.ca.
There you go. It's in the blood. You got it.
It's in the blood. And you can that's the Sean Geek and Fast Fret and Karen B podcast. We'll see you guys on the flip side. I'm going to stop recording.